So I think we'll start the first panel of the afternoon with Johann Kerbat. Thank you so much. How do you say
enough,
it? Johann. That's it. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
It's always fun to see two French people speaking in English with an audience, right? So no, I mean, very excited to have you. You are general manager crypto at Robinhood. Mm-hmm. But maybe can you please introduce yourself as well as your journey at Robinhood?
Okay. So Robinhood was created in 2013, so it's a pretty old company. Initially started with equities, so you can trade stocks and everything, and we started the crypto product in 2018. And I joined about 4 years ago, initially as a CTO for the crypto group, and then moved to the president position about 2 years ago.
Right. And it seems that now crypto is a substantial part of the revenue of Robinhood. Mm-hmm. What would you say it's important for the company, and how do you think of crypto moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think for us, there's a few points that are important. It's something that our customer wanted. They've been asking for it, and that's why we launched it in 2018. The second thing is we want to democratize finance for all, meaning that we want to remove barrier to access crypto. We want to drop the fees. We want to make sure that, you get all the assets at the best cost. So that was a second big reason for us to get into it and start playing competition with the Coinbase and Binance and all these people that were charging pretty high commissions. And then the third thing is we really think that it can help bridge the gap between traditional finance and the new world. If you think about settlement, if you think about margin requirements, all these things that exist on a brokerage, crypto can actually change all of that. So, the settlement we just celebrated in the US that we moved to T+1, meaning day plus one. So when you place a trade, we will settle the next day. In crypto, it could be like a matter of seconds, minutes, depending on the chain. So all of this can reduce the requirements, reduce capital requirements, and at the end of the day, give better price to the customer. So we think for us, it's a big technology that we want to help bring to the masses. And we also think it's going to help us create the financial framework of tomorrow.
So do you see a world where 100% of Robinhood transactions and financial products and business is happening on-chain?
100% is a big word, but I do see a world where we start using blockchain technologies more and more to help us. We've been starting internally to use it for settlement, for example, like sending cash between market makers and Robinhood. That's something that we've been doing, and ton of advantages that we can take more and more further in the sense of really trying to find ways that are going to reduce cost. And for us, as soon as we can reduce cost, it means that we can pass more to the customer. And so it's a good thing.
Right. Another topic I wanted to touch on, it's definitely the big or exciting news that you've been announcing lately is your historical business is in the US. Mm-hmm. But it seems that you're doing a big push in Europe. Mm-hmm. And from what I've heard, you were thinking, okay, should we open an office? Robin in Europe was a big push in crypto. Mm-hmm. But you've acquired this company, Bitstamp, the exchange. So can you explain to us, why did you do it, and what was the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, so we are live in the EU. We have an office in Lithuania. And so we've been since December of last year, so it's been 9 months now that we've been running it. We are licensed to work in the EU in a few countries, and our goal is to really be ready for MiCA next year and make sure that we can start offering crypto to everybody here in the EU. But for the Bitstamp acquisition, there was a few things that we were interested in. The first thing was the international expansion, to your point. So Bitstamp has 50 licenses across the world, including in Asia, including in the EU, including in the US. So for us, it was a big kind of acceleration, if you want, to be able to kind of rely on their compliance team, rely on their leadership team to have all these licenses. The second thing was they have an exchange. So Robinhood, for the people who don't know, is a marketplace. So we send customer orders to market makers. We only act as an agent. But having an exchange will allow us to bring actually more assets on the platform. They will also help us like reduce spread, tighten the prices. So all this thing is interesting for us. And the third,
And maybe just to pause on this, as you mentioned, Robinhood historical way of operating is more as a broker, but now you've acquired the exchange. So you see this more as an opportunity, more than like I would say a threat to your operational day-to-day.
I think for us it's an opportunity. It's really just being able to bring more competition on the market. As soon as you have more competition, price will be tighter, better, and so because of that, we'll be able to offer more things to customers. So for us, the idea behind the acquisition was not to remove a competitor. It was to bring two businesses that can complement each other and actually create a better system at the end of the day.
And not only in Europe, right? So the exchange part of Bitstamp could help also Robinhood around the world and in the US.
I think, at this point we want to keep the two business separate, and so we're not going to necessarily like look at this kind of merging or anything like that. But Bitstamp is licensed to execute in the US, so they could work in the US and help with liquidity there.
Okay, interesting. Sorry, I cut you. What was the third?
The third point is really institutional. So,
right.
So what you're discussing, Robinhood has been retail. We have 24 million US customers, and our goal at this point is to also look at diversification of revenue, and that's a big one for us. So Bitstamp already having like deep relationship with hedge fund, market maker, banks, all these kind of institutions that we haven't really talked to. It's a huge acceleration for us.
Right. I guess another business line that could help also in the US, not only in the EU. I mean, if you look at Bitstamp, it's 4 million users, 50 active licenses. Mm-hmm. Some are in APAC. Mm-hmm. Do you feel it will help you go into geographies that you're not forcibly?
I think so. Today? So, for us, the goal has been to expand geographically for a while. We've been focusing on scaling for a long time because in the US, we really grew quickly and rapidly, and we wanted to make sure that our system were operational and could resist, any kind of wave of customers or anything like that. So now we're good there. And so our goal is to expand geographically. And so licenses are definitely interesting. The people, the teams, for us, Bitstamp's team was really something that I was impressed by. And so that's why we wanted to do the deal as well.
Right. I mean, another part of your business in crypto, one is custodial, which is very geographically oriented, let's say, in the US and in Europe. Maybe other geographies not.
For now, that's it.
That Bitstamp is part of the family. And the other part is the self-hosted / non-custodial offering. Yep. How do you see these two offerings living into the Robinhood ecosystem?
So for us, the self-custody wallet is available, I think, in 190 countries, been downloaded and used 100,000 of times. So, it's already part of the family of products that we have. And a lot of the things that we build is based on customer demand. So, if people message us or ask us to build something, we usually look at it and we try to do it if we can. And a lot of people wanted to use Robinhood, but they also wanted to get into the Web3 world. But when they were doing that transition, like using one of these existing wallet, they were kind of getting confused, lost by the UI UX. And so our idea behind the wallet was to really bring the UI UX that people love in the US and bring it to the masses. And so what we see is really like the gateway for people to be able to access Web3 and access to any dApps, do anything that they want on chain. All of these things that we are not going to integrate internally because the world is moving so quickly in Web3 and in crypto. So we wanted to make sure that they will have the right tool to access it. And then for us, at this point, after that, we feel a bit better. Like we know that when they have their assets on the self-custody wallet, We'll have like messages in case there's a scam. Like there's a lot of things that are built to protect the customer. But actually, we don't make any revenue on the wallet. So for us, it's really like a tool and an offering that we give to the customers. And then the way that it works in the ecosystem is that you can use Robinhood to fund your wallet. So like there is all these things that help for us to make like a business case around it. But yeah.
Right. Do you feel you will have the revenue lines or type of offerings in the wallets that help you monetize it?
I think right now that's not my main focus on it. I think the main focus has been driving adoption, driving a place where people can self-custody in safely. Our main revenue driver is still the main app, the Robinhood app, and I think for us like that's good. What we want to make sure is that we don't have customers losing funds because they are not using a proper tool or something like that.
Right, and because they on-ramp in Europe and US, is it where the customers are for the wallets, or do you see other kind of like countries, because you're mentioning 190 countries, do you see other region where actually the wallet is being used?
Yeah, we see in I think 140 plus countries that we have like active population. We don't have an on-ramp everywhere yet. And some of them are not Robinhood, so we have multiple on-ramp on the wallet. And so our goal has really been to make sure that people can use it, they can transfer USDC or whatever asset they want on the wallet, and then they can do what they want with it.
Right. And I'm also trying to understand how geographically spreaded your team, the crypto team is, right? So I think you're based in SF. Do you plan to launch offices in Europe, for example, or will you gather or basically grow with Bitstamp offices, or how do you?
We have a few offices in the US where the crypto team is really concentrated. So San Francisco, New York, Seattle, and somewhere in Austin or something. I'm looking at other people that know more. But we're a fairly distributed team. We do have an office in the EU, in Lithuania as well. We just acquired a couple in Luxembourg and in Slovenia, and then we also have an office in the UK because crypto is not, but Robinhood is available in the UK as well.
Right.
So,
I want to touch base a little bit on the regulatory landscape in the US, which seems to go the right way. With the ETF coming beginning of this year, and Bitcoin, and now Ethereum. And it seems generally, there's a feel of hope for crypto in the US, maybe because of the election coming that wasn't happening in the past year or the past 2 years. Do you feel that's true? And how, as Robinhood, would you adapt to this rapidly evolving environment?
Yeah, I don't know if it's true. I mean, I don't know if I'm 100% optimistic about everything happening in the US. I think, when you look at the EU with MiCA coming up, and, I actually left the EU because I felt the EU was too slow and the US were a lot faster, and now it's the opposite, where the EU is faster than the US. So
you're coming back?
Maybe, yeah. But I think the main thing for us has been to work with regulator. Like, we've been engaged with them for as soon as I joined the company. If you think about Robinhood, we are on the brokerage side regulated by FINRA, the SEC, many other states. On the crypto side, we have 30 plus licenses on the state level, plus we have the BIT license in New York. So, we've done our fair share of work to work with the regulator, and we hope that we can work with them and not just see regulator regulating by litigation. On the ETF news, I think for us, it's a positive. I think more access to crypto is overall positive. We saw it for Bitcoin. You have more ways to get in. As a platform, we offer the 11 ETF as soon as they were available. You can use your retirement account, and in the US, you get a tax advantage if you use a retirement account when you buy, sell. So, there was a lot of things that we were happy about. And so the customer really had the choice. Like, they could buy spot on our platform, They could buy the ETF on their retirement account or on their brokerage. So, at the end of the day, that's what I want to do, is give the choice to customer, and then they can decide, they can compare price, cost of the ETF, these kind of things. Or, if they want to transfer the asset, they can also do it. So that was something important. But I think, for us, I will celebrate with everybody when we have clear regulation and we're able to really do a lot of things in crypto in the US.
Right. Do you think it's coming in next year or so?
I hope. I think it's a missed opportunity for the US. I keep telling that to people that I meet, is when you see people leaving the US to develop their startup in the EU or in Asia because the regulation was preventing them to build their startup, I think that's a very sad thing. So
right.
I'm hoping we can change that.
Right. And you've been mentioning MiCA, which in your eyes seems quite a positive regulatory landscape compared to the US. Can you explain why do you think that is? And why you think Europe might be a forefront there?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say everything is amazing about MiCA, and I know there is a ton of debate, but I think at least there is something. There's a framework that we can use, and we can work towards it, and we can talk to regulator, and we can build product based on that framework. I think that's what's missing in the US, is that you can try as much as you want, you can try to register, you can try to meet with people, and you're stuck in circle. So I think that's what I like. Writing a bill and writing a framework, a regulatory framework that is going to work for every use case is going to be very, very difficult, especially when you think about Web3. But at least it's a step forward. And that's what I really like about. And I think we in the US need to bridge the gap and try to at least have some starting points, because right now we don't really have anything. So you can have like the bit license at the state level, but it doesn't work at the federal level. It doesn't work in other states. So, it's a very, very difficult situation. And if a company like Robinhood, when you think about, the number of people working there, the number of top lawyers we have in the company, if we are not able to figure out a way to make it work, there is a problem.
Right. I wanted to understand what excites you on the Robinhood roadmap in terms of like features you're going to offer users and your customers in the next 12 to 24 months. I mean, the ones you can announce.
So usually we don't do announcements.
Right. I mean, it's not here to trick you or anything.
No, don't worry. But I think what's exciting for me is really what I've mentioned, I think, a bit earlier. Like, I really think we are going to start using crypto for more and more things, and you will see it on Robinhood. And we'll be able to reduce the gap between the different technologies. I think tokenization is something that I'm really excited personally. I really, really think we can tokenize almost everything and put it on chain and actually improve things. So that's probably the one thing, I can say that I'm excited personally.
Right. Yeah, which comes back to what you said at the beginning, where a lot of the product that you offer that are not on chain could be delivered on chain at some point, and making maybe 90% of your business on chain.
Hopefully one day.
Right. And also, while you're at EthCC, what kind of innovation you see in the space, protocols, L2s, or other kind of tools that the ecosystem have been building and you're excited about?
I think it's just like the energy is really positive and really exciting for me. I've seen a lot of people, building new product, new protocol that I really want to try and engage with. I usually try to not name any, but I think also for us, just seeing like the community has been a big thing. Like we work with all of these people a ton, and so being able to see them in person is very important.
Right. Yeah, I don't want you to name any coins because they will think you will support it on the platform next week.
Yeah, that's usually the issue. It's we don't want to name any coin, any protocol until it's official and it's published.
Right. Conscious of time, do you have maybe? Do you mind if we ask maybe one or two questions to the audience? There will be a mic going around with Marie, and don't mess up with Marie because otherwise, you know what's happening.
Especially water balls.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for coming. I'm curious to what extent the GameStop incident changed the thinking internally about crypto, if at all, because obviously it showed some of the issues with the current financial system that crypto could potentially address.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. Like, you know, if we didn't have like the T+2 at the time of the GameStop, I think things would have been very different. Overall, I wouldn't say change a ton. So, you know, the founders of Robinhood have really been behind crypto. If you think about when we launched, it was in February of 2018. So it's like deep winter after 17, and you know, nobody was really excited about crypto at the time, and they still decided to launch it and to invest in it. And we kept investing even during like winter cycle or anything like that. So I think that's just one more of this, like, you know, from experience, we think tokenization can really help, and we think blockchain in general will help the traditional finance.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Johann? Oh, maybe one question there.
I think does it work?
Yeah.
You mentioned about using blockchain, the technology for settlement between market makers and Robinhood as an entity. I just want to elaborate a bit on this. So I don't know how much can you say about, are you using private blockchain, public blockchain? If so, which one? Which part of the percentage of the transaction does it represent? And what have been the feedback so far, the challenges and the benefit of using blockchain rails for back office infrastructure?
Yeah, so I can't communicate on numbers exactly, like because I don't know them. But I think the main reason for us was really, you know, was it last year or 2 years ago when the bank started to close in the US, the crypto bank especially. You know, we wanted to have other solution, backup solution that we can rely on, and that was one of them that we started mostly as a backup initially, and we're like, hey, let's try it, and slowly we started to realize that there are pros and pros. And overall, you know, the main advantage is 24/7. 24/7, you don't have to wait for the bank to wake up and to send your wire, and it goes through in a few minutes. I think that's the main kind of advantage that we need to capitalize on. And, you know, that's just for settlement, but I think when you start thinking about cross-border, like now that we're going to be an international company, there is going to be a lot more interest there. So it's something that, you know, we want to keep experimenting and basically replace slowly our systems with.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.